I present to you America's top foundational health coach, Dr. Joe Dee.
Hey there, I am Dr. Dee Baer. I am so excited to because these guys were so handsome, I just decided to leave them up on the screen this time because this is our Doctor Talk panel that we do once a month. And today is going to be one like none other. So fasten your seatbelts, get your pen, get your paper, because I know we baby boomers don't do everything on the electronic device. But I am so grateful to say this is episode number 7. That's a divine number. When you do what you're going to hear from us today, when you go ahead and hear from us today, you will go ahead and I will just say, because we're keeping y'all up here, guys, if you just want to hit, I think somebody's got a hot mic, that would be great. Thanks so much. And so what I'm going to say is that it is our time. It is our moment. At 69 and a third, I know I'm living proof. I've been waiting for this information because longevity is everything. It's not the life in your years can only be great if there's length of life. So let me introduce you to myself. As long as I said 7, the divine number 7 that we have done of Dr. Talk panel, 4th Thursday of every month. And this is what I know is that life is like a journey, and you make it and you play hard and you play strong, because I know this. Being a foundational health coach of over 4 decades, I have the privilege of being able to be with 30,000 clients, 1.1 million plus pounds of toxic fat lost. I'm starting a new program next week and I can't keep track of it. So I'm just going to say over 1 million pounds, just leave it at that. But you know, like when McDonald's put that sign up, that means there's more and more and more. But truly, I'm grateful to say in this COVID culture that over 3,000 people have been able, my clients, been able to regenerate, rejuvenate, restart, and reinvent their lives for the rest of their lives. That's what we're talking about here on longevity. What do you do with the rest of your life? Let's make it the best of our lives, shall we? That's what it's all about. See, what I know, my personal quote really fits in today. Health is not something you do. It's what you become along life's journey. When you become health, when you get me approaching my 7th decade, you will feel this energy, vitality, and it will transcend into longevity. I love what Les Brown says, and this fits all 6 pillars of our lives as we go and we do this together. Spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, social, and financial. So, as Les Brown says, it is possible for you to do what only you can do. Do it and feel it and be it as though your life depends on it. You know why? It really does. So as you know, on Dr. Talk, we're here on Traverse TV. We're here on all platforms, including Twitter, YouTube, my YouTube channel at Dr. Joe Dee. I know Dr. Michael Pierce and Dr. Mike are broadcasting that into their YouTube channel as well, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and we're here, especially for Dr. Mike and I, at the local CBS affiliate, Traverse TV. We are here live on our Orlando's channel 55. So here, I've got the pleasure to say we have a top tier. These are just not people in health. They're not healthcare specialists. They are absolute expert at what they do, but they're experts because they believe they have become health. And today we have another wonderful professional that is joining us all the way from tornado-ridden Tupelo, Mississippi. See, we find a way. And with Dr. Talk, when I think about in 1985, when I put this on a gold card and I said, I will pen the Eastern medical version of the PDR, I can say that Healthopedia right now, with the focus, with the editing, with the promotion of 12-time New York Times best-selling author, the Bernie Siegel. I thought it was appropriate here before introductions to give you what he wrote in my review with the 21 Days to Your Best You. He said, vegetarians, meditators, and joggers all die. But it's what you do along this way of life, this thing called a marathon. Now, he did introduce my new book that really has done 1.2 million downloads and books sold in my first month. I'm so grateful. Thank you for keeping it on Amazon at the top 10, not only in spirituality, self-esteem, social science, and self-help. But what he went on to say here in my review, these people die, vegetarians, marathoners, and meditators. But what you do on a daily basis in this thing called life that will absolutely be able to allow you to run this marathon to the finish line. That's longevity. To run it to the finish line on longevity, to do it so you can break the tape and said, when you see the maker, well done, thy good and faithful servant, as opposed to, as Dr. Mike Van Thielen and our good friend, Dr. Greg Carter say, then looking at the base of a bowl of petroleum-based pills. Doctor of Pharmacy, Phil Carson knows that one. And frankly, it's what you do in your meat suit that makes all the difference, as Dr. Bill says. And Dr. Michael, it's brain and it's balance. Because when you have energy, you will have vitality all the way from every part of your meat suit, all the way to your brain, because you're taking care of the one vessel that our Creator gave us. So today, as I introduce people, and then we'll go on to our commercial break with Confidence Tones, our commercial sponsor, Confidence Tones, which is absolutely, absolutely key in all of this, because when you keep the mental strong and you keep the energy flowing in brain immersion, it makes all the difference. Now, I'm going to say, just as a qualifier, if there's a delay in the broadcast, I'm getting a new computer. You know why? Gang, I wore out a NVIDIA card, the gaming card that rebroadcasts this online. So if we bring up the commercials, there's a little bit of a delay. That's why I left these four handsome men up with it. But why not? Why bring everybody up and back and up and back? Because they deserve this. Not only Dr. Mike Van Thielen, remember, I was his first patient. He got me to this place of longevity, and I will absolutely be grateful forever, ever. He's from Ormond Beach, Florida. He is a holistic nutritionist, acupuncture physician, and many, many things more. But what you're going to listen to his expertise today is biohacking, knowing how to hack the code for longevity. Dr. Michael Pierce, Parker, Colorado, the brain and balance man, an absolute chiropractic physician, natural healing medicine, functional neuropathy, and a neurologist. Do you want functional neuropathy, or you do want to have functional neurology? I think you choose B. That's what he does. And Dr. Phil Carson, our guest here, and I hope you'll be a permanent fixture, Phil, because you are one of these terrific men. He has a tremendous story. This is just one I've got to say, kudos out. Pray for the people in Tupelo, Mississippi, when they rebuild their town and their area. See, people that go the distance, people that are marathoners, like Dr. Phil today, he could have said, oh, Jody, I've got to pass. We've got too much rubble around us in Tupelo ever being hit for this tornado, but he said yes. So I want to honor you, because that is a real key ingredient in longevity, to go ahead and take it the distance, to say, I'm going to do this no matter what. Dr. Phil Carson, obviously of Tupelo, Mississippi, is a PhD in pharmacology, a holistic pharmacologist. We need to know him for sure. And the meat suit man, absolutely, absolutely my favorite guy. I like y'all, but hey, there's something about the chiropractor hippie in Yorba Linda, California. He integrates NLP, which is a key ingredient in longevity, and his chiropractic care, functional neurology as well, and rehabilitation. As he said, what are you going to do with this meat suit? Dr. Glenn Depke will be joining us when he's not on an airplane. And big shout out to Renee Brown and her twin daughters graduated from high school. They are on a cruise, a well-deserved cruise today. So right after these breaks, as we will have, not only from Traverse, but also from Confidence Tones. We'll be right back. And let's get into this thing really called life. It's called longevity. So take a look, take a listen as we bring in my sponsor. And by the way, I created this product. Anything that you see on my website, drjodee.com, I had a hand in formulating it. That's just how I feel at this point. So Confidence Tones is one of those things. And just say that you will love this product. It will do things for your brain that you've never thought possible. It's a beautiful adjunct to what every single one of our people are doing here, our professionals, our professional men of natural medicine. So take a look, take a listen to Confidence Tones.
Welcome to Confidence Tones, where we use a proprietary audio development formula called audio immersion to provide an experience that's designed to help quickly and effortlessly generate positive change in the subconscious mind when used correctly. This experience is achieved using 4 primary building blocks: brainwave modulation, invocation of positive emotions, immersive imagination stimuli, and developmental suggestion. We know of no other source in the world that provides the synergistic combination. With a good pair of headphones, you'll be able to immerse yourself into audio that's designed specifically to help you feel better, do better, and live better.
So back and let us begin. And I will say that, like everything else, there is a patronage part of being a sponsor with Ignite TV, with Traverse TV, and what we're doing here. Would love for you to be a part. Thanks for being a part of our sponsorships. We'll be announcing these next Thursday. By the way, Dr. Phil has been there, Dr. Bill, Dr. Mike, and now Dr. Michael Pierce will be my guest next Thursday evening of Life's Milkshake Moments. This is something that we can bring, and knowing that 50% of anything that's donated through the month of July will be going to our School of Hope in honor and tribute to the late Danya Safar, who was killed tragically, my graphic artist, when we were bringing out the book. And frankly, it's been an absolute delight to see that we are 3/4 of the way there to have that money to build the School of Hope in her name, to keep her memory alive, and just know that this is what we do, this is who we are, and this is what we do along life's journey. And certainly, my journey would not have been the same without Dr. Mike saying to me when I had a situation with stage 4 melanoma, and he said, "You're my first patient. I'm not going to be 0-1. So give us our competitive edge now, Dr. Mike, with biohacking. The stage for the next 7 minutes is yours.
All right, guys, thanks for having me here. It's always a pleasure to come on these talks. Longevity, we can talk about that for a whole week probably. So 7-8 minutes, here we go. I would say that most people think that aging is linear. Surprise, surprise, it's not. Aging is exponentially. So if we want to fight aging, we also got to fight that process exponentially. And so we're trying to do that today with what we call biohacking. Biohacking is an amorphous term with many meanings. But to me, biohacking means upgrading your body, your mind, and your life. So not just your body. And when it comes to health, it means to me, we are going to objectively reverse our biological age. Because today, I believe that everybody, even the common person, has access to strips and strategies and technologies at which I believe the 100 can be the new 30. Which means is we can live to be 100 years old and do the things a 30, 40-year-old do. Which means traveling, snowboarding, whatever it is that you like to do. And I think that is realistic today. But then we obviously need to upgrade. We need to do things that other people don't do. The first thing we need to do is we need to get out of our comfort zone, because according to a recent Yale study, it basically shows that over 90% of people never get out of their comfort zone. They're convenient and they're content. But the Yale study shows clearly that if we stay in a stable situation, such as the comfort zone, our brain is not learning anymore. So we just are plain ordinary, basically. So step number one, in order to address this longevity, we really need to get out of the comfort zone. The end of the comfort zone is the beginning of our life. That's when we discover ourselves. Only when we get out of the comfort zone, we discover ourselves. And that's when we become extraordinary. And I like to talk about superpowers. That's when we can start tapping in our superpowers and unleashing our superpowers. So number one, we got to get out of the comfort zone, because we got to find some fire in our stomach, in our belly. We've got to find our passion. We got to reestablish our dreams and our goals. That's always number one, because we have to have a drive. And then we got to start biohacking. So again, we talk about purpose, right? Purpose in life and our dreams, passion, and fire. Now we got to start upgrading. And a lot of people listening probably think that biohacking is just for the elite or it's expensive. Well, it doesn't have to be. In my book, I talk about the 7 foundational hacks. So I'm just going to talk about a few of them and give our listeners a few simple tips that they can do without spending money. Because when we talk about foundational hacks, we talk about oxygen, we talk about water, we talk about light, we talk about movement and rest. We talk about diet, and we talk about the mind. So those are the 7 foundational hacks. So for example, when we talk about oxygen, obviously we can spend more time outdoors and get fresh air versus, indoor recirculated air. But there's something a lot of people don't understand about oxygen. The first thing we do when we come into this world is what? Breathe. The last thing we do before we leave this world is breathe. I think breathing and oxygen is obviously very important, but the majority of people, I would say the far majority of people that are listening, they don't know how to breathe because they breathe through the mouth, and the mouth is there to talk. We're all good at talking. It's there to talk and to eat. It's the nose that's there to breathe, because when we breathe in through the nose, it's much smaller passageway, so it drives the oxygen much deeper into our lungs. So for all the listeners, we can breathe oxygen, but we don't utilize it the right way. So we really need to look into breath work. And the best app that I found out there today is called The Breath Source, because the top breath masters of the world are all teaching on that one app, and you can download it for free. So let's start with hacking or upgrading our oxygen and our breath by learning the basics of breath work, including breathing in through your nose. Because if we breathe in through the nose, Jody and listeners, we only take 6 breaths on average per minute. If we breathe through the mouth, it's 22 breaths. So it's 300% change. It's 300% more effective. Think about longevity and oxidation in the body and the utilization of oxygen if we can breathe only 6 times per minute versus 20 times. So tip number 1, learn how to breathe. Look for breath work. Number 2, we talk about water, all right? Water is very essential. We don't have to talk about how essential it is. Most of us obviously drink not enough water because our body is a plumbing system. It's our circulatory system, and it's also our lymphatic system, which is our immune system. And so things need to move, and therefore we don't want it to clog up. We need movement, and we need water. We need to flush constantly. And then the quality of water becomes very important. I personally am looking at my own device on the kitchen countertop. It's hydrogen-infused water. And I think today that's one of the major biohacks besides breath work is infusing your water with hydrogen. And for those who don't know, hydrogen is the smallest molecule with probably one of the biggest impacts on our health. So go to hydrogenstudies.com and learn a little bit more about hydrogen. So that's hack number 2, water. Hack number 3, light. We got to obviously spend more time outdoors because the light gives us vitality. Light stimulates all biological processes. So go out there in your yard, eat more outdoors, go to the beach, go to parks, spend more time outdoors and ground. Take those shoes off so you become one with Mother Earth. Next, we talk about movement. We already talk about the plumbing system and movement. We don't necessarily have to go to the gym or play organized sport, but we got to keep moving and drinking that water so our system doesn't clog up, right? So it's about movement and being outdoors. We need to also, with movement comes the opposite, rest, sleep and rest. We talked that about last time. We talked about insomnia, I believe. But rest, we need adequate rest. And there are many things that we can do to upgrade our sleep. We talked last time about evening power routines and visualization to make sure we're not worrying and we can fall asleep and get to in the deep delta stage of sleep. There's many technologies like brain tap, visualization, etc. that can help us getting into that deep sleep. I personally sleep on an anti-aging bed cover that grounds me, has far infrared light, and shields me from electromagnetic frequencies and radiation. So that helps me to sleep. So now we got 4 ones done, Jody, or 5. Next one is diet. Obviously, it is important what we take into our mouth, what we are exposed to, what we give this amazing creation. And it needs to be top-notch fuel. It needs to be wholesome, holistic, organic foods, everything from Mother Nature. And unfortunately, yes, we need to look at high-quality supplements because the food that we get, even if it's organic, loses a lot of nutrients between harvest and consumption. So unless you have a hydroponics, aquaponics system in your own house, I don't discourage you from eating organic, wholesome foods, but we need high-quality supplements as an insurance policy to keep toxemia in check. And then last but not least, the mind. We need to upgrade the mind. The mind controls the body. The mind also creates your success. It's your blueprint. So we really need to start to tapping into the different brainwaves. We need to get comfortable with meditation, visualization, manifestation, because if there's any doubt in our mind that we're going to live to be 100, that we're going to achieve our goals and our dreams and be successful, then the universe has 2 options, success and failure. If we don't have any doubt in our mind that we're going to be 100 years old, go skiing, go hiking, be healthy, that we reach our goals and our dreams, and there's no doubt in our mind that the universe has only one option, and that is a big win. So I talked a little bit about biohacking, but I gave you the 7 fundamentals. We can start working on those, and it don't have to be costing a lot of money in order to upgrade that body, that life, and that mind, Jody.
Beautiful, beautiful, Mike. And frankly, this is what I know. Yes, and you got applause. We've got the 6 steps. We got 7 minutes. We're now going from biohacking to the brain. Dr. Michael, give us what you got. It's always amazing. You're still on mute.
Sorry, we all do that. My goodness.
It's the human condition. We all stay on mute.
You sit on mute forever, and then it's time to go. All right. Well, when you asked me to talk about longevity in the brain, a lot of things popped into my head, but I think the most important thing was that our brain is like this great ox, and it likes to go off in any direction. And if we don't control that ox, it's going to run away from us. It's going to run away with fear. It's going to run away with greed. It's going to run away with distraction. And we're going to really just give away our lives to the vagaries of this ox brain. So we really have to tame our brains. We've got to become disciplined. We've got to be able to identify first when our brains are going off on some kind of tangent, which is most commonly fear these days. We've got to identify, hey, am I going off on fear and reactivity? And then we've got to, at that point, once we've identified it, start to say to ourselves, what do I really want? Now, when you're diagnosing people or you're trying to solve problems in the Western sense, we always look for what is the problem. We look for what we don't want. And that's important. It's a good skill to have. And I taught my interns that for years. But the essence of what we're really trying to do ultimately is first figure out what we want. What do we want to feel? What do we want to do? What should life feel like? We may not know how. We may not understand exactly how we're going to do that. We may not know the steps, and it may feel irresponsible and Pollyannish to say that. But the general idea is take a thought of, what do I want to feel like? How should I move through life? What should it feel like? And in that way, you'll start to gather a community and you'll start to find people that have a like mind. And so I think that step is extremely important. In fact, right now, I don't know if you know this little fun thing, but I've got my 70-year-old parents in their 70s. Both of them and I are working on a project together where we're all learning Linux together. We're all learning a different operating system than both Apple and PC, the Windows system. And you'd think 70-year-old parents are going to be doing that, and I'm getting old too. So we're learning a new operating system. We're learning how to use different computers and break free from the system, to break out of the matrix. And so we're trying to do new things for our brain as we age, because I would very much like to age as gracefully as even my parents. And I'd like to age as gracefully as Bernie Siegel, that's for sure. So
at 90, I forgot to look at that. At 90, okay, yeah. He says, I'm still pretty sharp occasionally. So you can work that in.
That's right. So there's abundant opportunities. Once you do those first steps, the world starts to open up for you. You start to realize, I can do this. There are ways out. There are ways through this. I can take the red pill. I can get free of this stuff. I can do things that make me take care of my own self, my own liberty, not just freedom, but liberty, my own health sovereignty. I can take charge of my finances. I can take charge of my data online. I can take charge of my computers. I can take charge of my social media. I can take charge of my detoxification. And then you start learning to biohack, like Dr. Mike said. You start to biohack. You start to do it yourself. And yeah, you can talk to doctors, and all of us are good doctors on this panel, great doctors, but you need to really take responsibility and start doing it yourself. You should be doing more for yourself than your doctor is. If you're not working harder than your doctor, you've got a problem. Even if you've got a great doctor who is working harder than you are, that's a wrong formula for aging and wellness. You should be working harder on your health than your doctor is. If you're very passive and you just go in and say, write me a prescription, do something to me, adjust my neck, and it's very passive, you're not going to age well. It's not going to go well for you. On the other hand, if you really want things to go well for you, you can begin to do things that are super cheap and super easy. You can do an elimination diet, which is free. You can stop eating certain things and eat more of other things. And you can experiment on your own body in a very safe way. Now is one of the best times in history of humans where you can order your own lab tests and look at them yourself. There's a bunch of online systems where you can go and order your own lab tests and look at them yourself. Now, will you make mistakes and screw up? Sure. But most of you won't kill yourselves. Most of you won't need any help, but some of you will, and you'll find people like us, and we'll help you and we'll guide you through that. But you can do a lot more yourself than you thought you could. And so I think it's very important to lastly, as we age, we are in an age of infection and contagion. And I want you to think about the balance between infection, contagion, and toxins. I believe as I age that our problem is much, much, much more toxins than it is infection and contagion. I don't think that bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other things have near as much power as they do when we're full of toxins. So I'm not saying that there aren't things that can infect us and jump from person to person. I mean, there are remoras that feed on sharks and they eat the bad skin cells and parasites off the sharks. You may have seen those sucker fish that attach themselves to a shark, and they're the shark's friends. They're not eating the shark. They're not consuming the shark's organs or sucking its blood. They're beneficially helping the shark. And then you've seen, decaying bodies in the street with maggots on them, and those are not so good. So as we age and we get these infections and we get these fungal infections in our toes and we get these sinus infections and we get these lung infections and we get these viruses like we've just had 3 years of, we have to ask ourselves, did we get that contagion because we were sick? Or did we get it because we were old? Or we get it because we were exposed? Because most of the studies have shown that healthy people don't get infected. Now, that doesn't mean you're bad if you get infected. It just means you might think about being toxic instead of just being vulnerable. So I'd like to end with saying that there's a lot you can do for yourself. One of the things I'm doing right now is I'm making silica water. This is Dennis Krause's book. There's a great free video on how to make your own silica water. This is a water that will help you for free pull aluminum out of your brain and help reverse things like Alzheimer's. It's the work of Dr. Chris Exley and Dennis Krause. These are expert doctors that talk about what you can do as you age to prevent dementia, to prevent short-term memory loss, and to stay on top in this life. And you know what's really cool? It also helps with wrinkles and cellulite. Aluminum drives wrinkles and cellulite. So it's important for beauty as well as your brain function.
My goodness. Thank you, Mike. The balance doctor. Now we don't just have one one kind of water to drink. We have two: hydrogen, silica. Who knows? There might be a new meat suit chiropractic waters, because we all are water. And I'll say, when Dr. Bernie said the other day, I am 90. And I said, why are you helping me so much with this foundational healthopedia, our new collaborative book of 42 authors? And he goes, well, all my friends are dead. They didn't listen to what I was doing. And I told them as a doctor how to live between office visits. And that's what Dr. Bill Janeshak does with our meat suit, neuralgia, removing everything doctor with NLP. Bill, the next 7 minutes are yours. And you are muted too. So go ahead and take yourself off mute. We want to hear you. We want to see.
I'm always copying, trying to emulate Dr. Pierce. So, you know what? At this point, I would just say, just drop the mics, because I think our mics today covered just about everything that I would talk about. Because for the listeners right now, think about it. We're beating the same drum. We're just talking about the same thing. Everything is going to the foundations of health. The very things that will prevent disease are also the same things that are going to promote your health and longevity. And it gets down to, what are you doing on a daily basis seriously? Not dabbling in, but what are you religious about doing? You got to breathe, you got to eat, you got to sleep, you got to move, you got to poop, you got to reduce your stress, you got to get out there, you got to get in nature, you got to get some light on. Close the show, we're done. Now just people go out and do it.
Yes.
But how are we doing that? I believe that longevity in this day and age is taking a step backwards to go forward. And when you go backwards to the foundation of health, what did our caveman people do? What were our Native Americans and our oldest cultures in the world? You're going to find the secrets that aren't secrets. They're just shit that people aren't doing that they need to do all the time. And take it seriously. Like you said, I've integrated neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, mindset stuff into my office because of that very thing. I always thought that, like, the more I knew, the better the patients would get. And it's not the fact. It all starts with you. And what are you passionate about? What makes you get up in the morning? What makes you stay up late? What makes you focus on things? What makes you sit over here and put on a podcast every month to drive people in here that gets you excited, that you want to share so much about, that you want to reach millions of people, drop millions of toxic fat cells and pounds in the body? What is that? And everybody has something, but they have the voice in their head that says, well, I'm just me, so I'm just going to keep it quiet in this corner. What are you living out loud about? And, your good friend Les Brown always said that, when you quit fighting for what you do want, what you don't want is automatically going to come over and get you. And it will decay your meat suit. It'll decay your brain, and it'll decay your spirit. I love the meat suit. I love how the meat suit does, how it works, everything that we've done. But it only houses our soul and our spirit and our drive. And we have to use that meat suit to get us around. And how fast and how efficient and how long we motor around this life, because, Bernie Siegel's right too, is we're all going to die. Memento mori, we're all going to die, but that's not what life is. Life is, what are you doing in between the dash between born on this date, dash died on this date? That's where all your power lies. And I'm like, Mike is like, I want to be 135 bungee jumping and swimming and running away from jealous husbands and everything that's just, thinking, and I don't want my meat suit to limit my living. And I'm a little slow. It takes me a long time to learn stuff. So I need extra time, and I need extra brain power, and I need extra recovery time to go out and do it because I ain't as smart as regular people. So if we have a focus on where we're going, just like Mike, the mics were saying, it's our mind. So what do we want? What are we so passionate about that makes me want to live it? Is it your kids? Is it your job? Is it your hobby? Is it your next book, Jody? We have something. There's a purpose that we're motoring around on the big blue marble, and once we find out what that is, then we're going to go, okay, I really want to take care of myself. When I get a little less than active, I don't get sick very often. I mean, I got that flu that we had in 2020 for a little while. But other than that, I have not been down with anything for like 25 years. And every time I do feel like a little thing, I get mad because I'm like, oh, I got so much stuff to do. And my brain's not working. And I always think, I'm like, all right. And I'm grateful for that moment because it reminds me what sometimes I might take for granted, because I try to ritualize my life in the fact that I got to drink this much water. I got to move this much. I've got to sweat. I've got to say, no, I can't do it. And then do it. And then, so much, I need to learn so much. And then when I get down, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't let this happen again. And so I go back to my vision board, my journal, my goals, what I need to do to go forward. And I think that everybody needs to have their home base and their mountaintop vision, and everything else is a journey. And you make sure that if we were on that journey, we would make sure that we had food at base camp. We'd make sure that we had shelter. And I have a friend of mine says, you got to hustle like a crack addict, because, crack addicts, judge them as you may, they get up with nothing. And by the end of the day, they're smoking crack because they had a drive to do so. They're addicted. And the word addicted means to enslaved to. And I want to be enslaved to my health and my wellness and my longevity. I'm not advocating crack, but it's amazing what you do when you put your mind to it. So follow, like I said, let's drop the mics, because if you listen to the first part of this, you're going to get the things to do. Now it's just the gap of what are you willing to do, and what's so important that nothing's going to stop you from getting it done. I mean, I wake up every day. First thing I do is breathe every day. I've been doing it my whole life.
It's amazing.
So just add the rest of the stuff.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Bill. And I do have a rhyme for you, because Dr. Bill, it's always a thrill. What you come up with, you tie people in, and it's true. Purpose and passion. Live life like a healthy crack addict, if there's such a thing. That'd be an oxymoron. We need to have I'm on healthy crack. Foundational health. There we go.
Just channel that inner crack addict in you, and just use a different substance to try, instead of crack, try breathing, try your goals, something else that's going to enlighten the world a little bit more. But Beautiful. The mindset's there.
Right. So we're going to drop the mic on Dr. Bill and introduce our newest member of Dr. Talk, our panel, our visiting person. And I hope the professional in Dr. Phil Carson will be back, because a registered pharmacist, a doctor of pharmacology, and I know he's going to have 7 minutes of magic. The stage is yours, Dr. Phil.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Joe Dee. I appreciate it. And it's an honor to be here today with Dr. Mike, Dr. Michael, Dr. Bill. You guys have touched me and inspired me today, because you're talking about things that I talk about a lot, and all these foundational things, and what I call the fundamentals. And Dr. Mike hit on numerous fundamentals that I teach and work with people on. I teach my clients that I work with, in those fundamentals are key to our health in general, but they're also key to longevity. I teach, that we got to stop dieting. We're people are doing all these crazy diets. They need to just be eating balanced every day. Stay hydrated. Dr. Mike talked about the water and the hydration, so important. We've got to get the rest. I also talked about the rest and getting sufficient rest, quality sleep. And we got to keep fit. We got to keep moving. We got to exercise. And the last of my 5 foundational things that I teach is to be connected. We've got to stay connected. We got to stay connected to our family, the people around us. We got to stay connected, not just horizontally, but vertically as well, and keep that spiritual connection. I believe God is my spiritual connection. I'm a believer in God, and without Him and without that connection, I don't believe I can live the best life I could possibly live. And so I'm a big proponent of applying these things, these foundational things, these fundamental things on a day-to-day basis. And something that Dr. Jody says in her book, and if you haven't gotten her 21 Days the Best You need to get that book. But there's a quote from Dr. Jody says, "You cannot store fitness, nutrition, or positivity in life. They must be used and implemented daily." We have to apply. We have to apply all of these foundations and these fundamentals that we're talking about today. We have to apply them consistently. If you want a longer, healthier, better quality life, then they have to be applied consistently. And one of the things I'll say about myself and what's brought me to where I am today is my own health challenges that I had years ago that I struggled with, that I was taking a handful of prescription medications for. Being trained as a pharmacist, I thought, hey, this is what I need. This is what's going to take to get me better and improve all of the symptoms. I was struggling with major digestive issues, and the drugs were only giving me short-term temporary relief, which that's what a lot of drugs do. And I'm not anti-drug. Drugs have saved, medications have saved a lot of people's lives. But I believe we have a huge problem in the pharmaceutical industry today, in the drug industry, of what's called polypharmacy. And so many people are taking way too many medications. And I was probably taking way too many and consuming too much of even over-the-counter medications to help me with my problem that I was struggling with years ago with digestive issues. But thankfully, I found the answer in holistic solutions and natural medicine, and not in the prescription medicines I was taking at that time, or the over-the-counter medications I was taking as well, along with the prescriptions. And thankfully, I found that solution. I found that answer. I found my cure, so to speak, in natural holistic therapies. And it totally changed my life. I wonder often, Dr. Jody, if I would even be sitting here talking with you today had I not learned what I learned. And outside of the traditional medicine world that I was taught in and raised up in, if I hadn't broken away from that and started applying these things to my life on a daily basis, those 5 fundamentals I just mentioned, I apply them on a regular basis. And that's what we have to do. We have to apply them. And, so many people today become dependent, I believe, too dependent upon traditional medicine, particularly on medication. And I love the quote of one of my, natural medicine or holistic medicine heroes, Dr. Royal Lee, who was the dentist who started a nutritional company back in the late 1920s that's still going today. He said one of the biggest tragedies of human civilization is the precedence of chemical therapy over nutrition. It's the substitution of artificial therapy over nature, of poisons over food, in which we're feeding people poisons trying to correct the reactions of starvation. And when I first read that quote, that hit me right between the eyes, because I was dispensing medications every day, artificial therapy every day for people who were struggling with the reactions of starvation. And they were not starving to the degree that they were, like you see these some of these people, sometimes they're just frail, they're skin and bones. Now, most of these people are overweight that I was working with, but they were starving. They were starving because they were not getting the nutrients that they need. That was one of my problems. I was not getting the nutrients that I needed in my body to help me. I was not getting the enzymes. I was not getting all of the B vitamins that I needed and the vitamin C that I needed to counteract the effects of the stress I had in my life. And so many people are in that same type of situation I was in, and they're trying to correct these reactions of starvation, trying to correct these symptoms artificially with a chemical when they need nutrition. And that's why I love, one of that the number one, fundamental of mine is stop dieting and start eating healthy, getting the vital nutrients in our body that we need to sustain our bodies every day. And there's so many people that I work with and I coach on a regular basis that are in that place in their life where they are actually starving. And when we start working and I start putting them on the nutrients and getting the real food in their diet, changing their diet, they start to drop the medications. I've got a guy I'm working with right now. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do in a short period of time. When I started working with him a few weeks ago, he was on 8 medications, 8 for blood pressure and diabetes issues that he was struggling with. He is now off of all 8 of those medications, and he is doing amazing. It just blows my mind because I told him, I said, look, you got to come off of these medications slowly. You can't just stop them all of a sudden. Well, he stopped them quicker than I wanted him to. And I said, be careful now. But it's unbelievable how amazing he's doing without those medications. And I'm just super excited at that. But I encourage people all the time, follow the fundamentals, do them daily, be consistent with what you're doing, because so many people are out there looking for, that quick answer, that quick solution. And sometimes they're going to a medication for that when they need to go to nutrition instead. And Beautiful. I love it when people make these changes and they change their life and they're living healthier and they're living longer.
And you're living proof. And thank you for your testimony and all this, and showing that you found a better way because you found a better way for you and took your expertise. I think we need to call this Doctor Talk evangelistic sessions, rather than, because we really are evangelists. So I'm going to say we're going to go to a quick commercial break. I just decided that I'm going to give you, since we're honoring Dr. Bernie Siegel, we're honoring him in what he's doing here. And so I'm just going to flash up the little slide presentation that my VA and I did with him when we were getting Dr. Talk coming on board. So you can see his absolute vitality. And he said, I have a few slip ups, but I think 9 decades, I deserve it. So there you go. And there we go. And it's true. Lasting relationships. This is what we've done here, my fellow doctors. And I want to say that is such a delight to just kind of bring this home. I have one thing I'm going to say. Being a holistic nutritionist with foundational health, I love the fundamentals so you can have foundational health. And what I'm going to talk about briefly here, and then we'll come back to each of you, handsome and brilliant. I don't know whether you're more handsome or brilliant. I think the brilliance showed up more even than the handsomeness today. So that's saying a lot. But I'm going to talk about one thing, and that's meditation. I was not a believer in meditation. I thought it was some kind of Eastern, kind of moogie-foogie kind of thing until, as Mike just mentioned, so Dr. Mike mentions so beautifully, it starts with breathing. If you've never meditated before, just start with breathing. I hadn't done that. And guess what? I called it, like yoga and everything else, I called it, must be adult nap time. So if you haven't meditated, I just want to bring this up, confidence tones again. Just pick up one of those tones. You will be able to do this. Start with your breath. Everybody can do that, can breathe. You can be hydrated before you go in, and then just close your eyes and breathe. Amazing things will happen. If you go to my YouTube site at Dr. Joe Dee, I have a live that I did with Dr. Carol Magnus. She's going to be in the Healthopedia book. She's an amazing healer. Was actually the chief physician, like the Surgeon General in the United States for the country of Canada for 20 years. So she knows a thing or two about meditation. She said, when you meditate, I want to give her credit for the first time I heard this. When you meditate for 20 minutes, it adds 2 hours of sleep. Mike talked about sleep. Can you imagine what it's going to add? You just know that if you go to my website, which is drjodee.com, here it is again, the drjodee.com. Once you're going to get there, you go to my blog section, and I'm leaving it up for this month. Didn't realize I could actually make money on and make it a value to people. I've been giving this away for free. We do that a lot. We really do, guys. I know you do as well. But if you go ahead and go to drjodee.com/blogs, look for the one that is 10 rituals to rock your day. Why? When you rock your day at the very beginning, everything else just falls into place. When you do that, it just really will make all the difference. So what do I say in this 10 rituals to rock your day? You go ahead, get up. I start my day with coconut water, like it fresh. Found some places, I've been down in South Florida a lot, so I can get it fresh. Get yourself 5 gallons. It'll last the whole week. Freeze it, and you're out. Okay. Coconut water, blueberries, which help your mental clarity, and wheatgrass. It will make your body alkaline. It will 2 scoops of wheatgrass and 2 scoops of blueberries. You're good to go. All right. Then I go out and do my anatomic nervous system walk. You're going to have to reach out to me to get details. I don't just give this kind of, I want to make sure, because this isn't like many of these things. And I wanted to say many of these things that we do here, you were saying, oh, well, I'm on a fixed income. Well, unfortunately, that's because many senior citizens planned to, what they did is that they didn't plan their life. They just lived without a plan. And if you find yourself on and you're saying, oh, this is all good and fine, I can't afford you, I can't. You can afford to do these free tips. You can afford to go ahead and get some wheatgrass. You can afford to get the book on silica water. You can go ahead and do these things and think about your fundamentals. Think about being like the crack addict and on your health, because you deserve it. And frankly, I know that you can find a way to do that. All right. The wheatgrass is inexpensive. The walk is free. Then you come in and you do the third piece is you do an anatomic, after you've done your walk, with it's 35 to an hour. And I'm going to give Dr. Jim Marinakis, who will be one of our guests here soon as well. I can say that with unequivocally, when I met him, he gave me this walk, and I just poo-pooed this like meditation. I said, this is adult nap time. I'm not doing it. Went and did the anatomic nervous system walk. I was still competing in marathons, did this walk for an hour a day and hit a PR in my age group. It was not the real old people's version at that time. It was the mid version. Okay. So just knowing that it will make a difference. It will make a difference with all sorts of things because that's what we do. So you go ahead and take your wheatgrass, your blueberries, do your walk, the shower, go hot, cold. I know Dr. Bill is going to love this. Do hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold several times on your back because it stimulates your spine. It stimulates your spine. It will take out toxins as well as the immunity, as Dr. Mike said. But then go ahead, turn on your confidence tones, lay in bed, do a 10-minute meditation. When I don't do this now, I realize because what is longevity? It's vital energy. Energy, which we all just have a finite amount. How we conserve this. Energy creates vitality, which transcends into longevity. I've got to say, I know I'm the senior one on this stage, and I don't mind it whatsoever. Energy creates vitality, which transcends to longevity. I'm living proof. So I'd love to have us all back up here. Give us your last 30-second tip. Dr. Phil, let's just start with you about longevity. Last final tip, 30 seconds.
Yes. I'll share another quote. I love this quote from Jim Rohn, the success guru, if you want to call him that. Success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals that we've talked about today. And that is true in every area of life, I believe, but especially in our health and wellness. Consistently applying the fundamentals.
Fundamentals, foundational, beautiful. Okay, Dr. Michael, you are next. What is your 30-second wisdom giveaway?
Question everything. Don't believe me. Don't believe the government. Don't believe your teachers. Don't believe anybody. Question everything and make us all explain it like a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Dr. Michael. Dr. Mike, give us your 30 seconds.
Well, everybody did a great job. We all agree, which is good too, right, as doctors. But I guess for the majority of people, I hope for some people at least listening, this is a wake-up call. Do you want to be ordinary like 90% plus people and then basically retire and be in pain for 20 years? Or do you want to step out of that comfort zone, apply what the gentlemen here have shared with you, some fundamentals, and like Phil Carson shared, step by step, one incremental step, just routines. Jody, you talked about your power routine. You just explained your power routine. People need to get into routines. People need to be consistent. And if you want to go from ordinary to extraordinary, you got to go from the comfort zone into the zone. And so I encourage everybody to take that step because that's how you discover yourself. That's how you find fulfillment in life. And that's how you value the treasures of life. Most people are absorbed with short-term indulgences versus the big treasures of life, which are what? Health, wealth, sharing your abundance, and fulfillment. So let's do it.
Beautiful. Dr. Mike, and I just wanted to give a plug. You can go to Dr. Mike, MVT online, his initials, because they might misspell Van Thielen. And he's got a great place to create some longevity because you're doing an event in Costa Rica the end of August. Check it out. It'll be amazing. Speaking of amazing, Dr. Bill, give us your last bit of wisdom. There's so much.
Well, my last bit of wisdom is to listen to all these other guys and do that. But I would start your day with really focusing in on, like what you said, Jody, was meditation. And you should be meditating on why you got up this morning and what fire is burning under your tushy that's going to get you up, that's going to attract you to doing the things, the fundamentals, and making those a daily habit, a daily ritual. Like I said, get up and breathe and just get up and do everything else. But your why is going to be the most important thing that you can do because it will drive everything else. Yeah. Spirit in the meat suit. Go get her.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I will say, thanks again, gentlemen. You thrill my soul. I will have the last piece. And when we say guys, I just say, I was a jock growing up with a ponytail. I always just wanted to be one of the guys. It makes me feel good. All right. So what I know when you meditate is what Dr. Bernie Siegel, and actually it outsold Love, Medicine, and Miracles, his book, when he said, what do you do between office visits? Gentlemen, you have given us the show on what to do. You've given us the way that we can go, and what we're going to do between office visits, it's going to be your water, breathing. Notice that it's toxin elimination, drinking silica water, passion for life, fundamentals. Yes. And that connection, not only the horizontal, but the vertical connection. So I will say next month, I've got some personal news. My husband and I are getting back into our mold remediated house from Hurricane Ian. So you won't see us. I'm going to pick out the best of the best, and we'll do a replay next Thursday, the fourth Thursday in July. We'll be back on the 24th of August, and we'll be talking about the social pillar. Kids getting back into school. We're back to football games. How can you thrive on these in the social segment? So I want to thank you, gentlemen, all of you here. We will be back. I want to give Dr. Michael Pierce a plug. He will be my guest on Life's Milkshake Moments next week on the 29th. What a way to wind up June. And so just if you ever need to reach out to any of these fine doctors, you can always email me at drjodie.com. I will get them to you, the contact information, because you are not only my colleagues, you become friends and family, gentlemen. Dr. Bill, Dr. Phil, that rhymes, and we got the M&Ms together. Dr. Mike, Docland Michael, just make sure to mind your health, ladies and gentlemen, as you're creating your wealth, because it is a longevity journey of a marathon. I've said it twice during this TV show. Energy creates vitality, which transcends into longevity. I'm living proof. Mind your health again as you're achieving and creating your wealth, so that at the end of the life, you can go ahead and say that you just avoided spending your wealth to regain your health, that you have kept it all along the way, because your successful macro living is found in your micro daily lives. Les Brown says it is necessary for you to do what only you can do. This way, it's between office visits, and do it as though your life depends on it, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, it really does. So until we see you in August, this is Dr. J saying, have a healthy Doctor Talk day.